Renee, it's wonderful always to have you in Toronto, and it's been, as I said to everyone earlier, it's been a very special experience for me because that film we all made together 12 years ago.
That was great fun.
But you sing a remarkable variety of repertoire in these kinds of concerts, and do you find that important at this stage and where we are in the kind of the way music is appreciated to show that you love all of this kind of music? Is that part of the reason you do it?
When I program, I loosely would compare it to a meal. And I like this idea that you do a substantial piece and then you really try to reach out to as many people in the audience as you can based on everyone's taste, which is different. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm really thinking about the audience when I program.
Right. And I think, of course, when I grew up, it was funny because my father just loved classical music, so it was all sort of the happiest piece we ever heard was the Hammer Clavier. Most days it was the Missa Solemnis, but then my mother, when he would leave the house, would put on the King and I and My Fair Lady and dance around the house. And
you've got the whole spectrum. That's good.
It's possibly why their marriage only lasted 40 years, and then they couldn't take it anymore. But anyway. Let me just ask you a general question, which everyone's curious about. I think you've been right at the top of this world in opera and in recitals for 25 to 30 years, whatever it is now. What do you find has changed the most in that period of time?
Oh, so much. Certainly in opera, it's definitely that the visual and the theatrical values have really taken precedence. And certainly for theatrical values, I think it's a great thing. I want to believe the characters that I'm seeing, and I want to be really invested in the story. However, not at the expense of great singing or great music making, because otherwise I'd go to the theater, because I love theater too. Mm-hmm. So that's a big difference. I would say the HD broadcasts have really changed. And since the start of my career, super titles came in at the very beginning of my career. I'll never forget singing Mozart Recitative, and suddenly we had to wait because people were laughing. And that was a shock.
Right.
So a lot has changed. And naturally, that everything is now on YouTube, that you can't go anywhere and try something out. It's going to be the next day there. In certain territories of the world, when I sing, everyone holds up an iPad. So it's a white squares all the way around. So
where would that be?
Technology has changed.
Yes.
Yeah, South America, Asia.
Interesting.
So,
are you concerned at all for because of this possibility for everyone to see, the Met or La Scala or whatever in their own homes? Are you concerned for the smaller opera houses?
So it's a very interesting issue. My feeling, because I'm working so much now on the other side with the Kennedy Center at Lyric Opera, is that we want to be in a social environment. We want to have a shared experience. So the more that's emphasized, the more I think people will continue to come out. You can't sit home in front of your television every night or in front of your computer screen. That would be a very lonely existence. But certainly for me, it's been tremendously helpful in young singers who have access to the entire spectrum and history of singing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We had to go to the library.
Yes, right, exactly. Do they still have libraries anywhere?
Yes.
I saw on TV that nanotechnology is coming to the point where within 20 to 30 years, we will be able to buy a chip that goes into our brain and ask any question without actually having to go to our phones and Google it. So that if you can afford it, you will have limitless intelligence and knowledge.
Well, I watch Star Trek every day in 5th grade, so I think...
You're on your way,
yes.
Right? Yes. But it's a nice thought to think that actually this will enhance, the accessibility will actually enhance things so people will have more curiosity, so that in a city like Detroit, for example, where there's a very good opera company that doesn't perform all that many operas, but that it will hopefully thrive.
That's one way of looking at it. Certainly, one of my children went through an obsession with 40s dance music, big band music, and started quizzing me about Nina Simone and all of these singers, and Dakota Staton, and I said, "Where did you get this from?" And she said, "The internet."
Right.
So, that's a very hopeful picture.
Was that Amelia? Or
no, Sage.
Sage.
Yeah.
Or Stage, as we used to call her.
Stage.
Yeah.
Sage.
Sage actually was taught for a period of time by my wife.
Is Nadine here?
Nadine is here somewhere, isn't she? Somewhere. She's hiding.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Very fierce parent-teacher
I know.
conferences they used to have. I think.
She was wonderful.
In any case, tell us a little bit about the Kennedy Center thing, because you mentioned that just now.
So I'm Yo-Yo Ma and I and Q-Tip, the rapper, were just recently in the last 6 months appointed as artistic advisors to the Kennedy Center. So, and we sort of make our own projects, and I'm now in charge of a program called Voices. So it's a little bit vocal programming, solo vocal programming, but everything, you know, from rap to blues to classical, I'm interested in kind of unique statements that artists can make expressively. And then I have a couple of other really exciting projects coming. So it's fun for me to do these new things that enable me to try and develop the audience, to try and nurture young singers, which I do at Lyric Opera, and give back in that way. It's a
So
real
talking of
joy.
Lyric Opera, you get to work with one of my predecessors from a few years back, who's still
Sir
our
Andrew.
conductor. Sir Andrew, yes. So tell us a little bit about
He's a
him.
joy.
You have any good Sir Andrew Davis stories?
I'm sure. Well, he, you know, premiering Bel Canto this past season, Ann Patchett's book, that was the most exciting thing. And we collaborated together on it. We chose the composer together, Sir Andrew and I, and of course he had the last word. But we agreed. And Jimmy Lopez did a phenomenal job. It'll be on PBS in January, so I hope you see it. Chicago Voices is coming up in February, which is, you know, a sort of, the idea behind it is to celebrate the tapestry of, you know, vocal, singing, rap, everything, and at such a challenging time in the city. You know, all we read about in the rest of the world is the violence, and it is heinous, there's no question. So we're trying to do something where we can come together and support really public school children is what we're aiming to do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I always love to see what's in other friends' and colleagues' minds. So what do you think is the most significant thing that any of us, and you in particular, can do looking forward in the next 5 to 10 years to effect some kind of change in that regard?
Well, I believe so strongly in the power of the arts, in terms of childhood development, in terms of healing, and in every possible way. And the more that we can spread the word in our communities, and people are doing it, orchestras are doing it, you know, all of the arts institutions are doing it. I wrote a letter to President Obama a couple weeks ago, and I said, please don't leave us out, because the not-for-profit world is the sector that is working in communities, you know, hospitals, prisons, schools, and really trying to share this great art. And without it, you know, it's the thing that really marks us as human beings, and especially now with the in our country, the lack of civility right now, it's even more important. So that's, I mean, I really think it's incredibly important to start. I had fabulous public school music programs when I was a kid. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Separate from the fact that my parents were both music teachers.
Tell us where that was.
See, I'm an indentured servant, I think. This was Rochester, New York.
There you go.
So, yes, I literally, you know, I think there was a ferry here for a while.
Well, until quite recently,
yes,
actually.
Yes. Yeah. You know, that wasn't my time, but...
And it was before the wall was built, I think. Yeah.
I don't know.
So you are doing a tremendous amount of work in other ways other than just simply performing. Is that connected with the reason that you decided, I think recently, to stop doing really sort of mainstream opera work, or I mean, a significant number of opera roles? Tell us a little bit about that decision.
So opera is kind of like the Olympics, and you know, at a certain point, it was Leontine Price coached me on this. She told me why and when she stopped with opera. And it made sense to me. And so the idea is that you eventually I've done everything I wanted to do. I've sung 54 roles. And I don't want to keep singing the 3 that I still like and feel comfortable with. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it was a good time. You know, I'm not a repeater. And I would do new music, so I'm you know, that's why I'm not going to say this is the last opera, because I don't think it will be. But I'm continuing to, I'm mostly concertize. I mostly do what I am doing tonight, and I love it. That's my favorite thing. Well, can you tell? I have a blast, yeah.
it's always impossible to define what it is that makes that thing happen when somebody walks on stage. When you walk on stage, it's as if you embrace every single person in that hall, even the people who can only see your back. Somehow you just have that grace and generosity and a wonderful, soulful way of approaching everything that you do. And it is to stand next to it. And I can
so
hear
kind.
also, I'm sure you noticed that the sounds the orchestra makes, when you sing like that with that color and that expression, it inspires us all, and we want to do something to complement that, or to perhaps even inspire you back and make you feel that reward. So I just can't thank you enough for being here tonight.
Well, I get to sing with so many different orchestras, and there's something special. This orchestra, obviously, they feel musically empowered. They're contributing. You create an environment that is incredibly, really nurturing and warm. This is rare. It's quite rare, I think, the playing I heard in the last 2 days. I will say the people behind me, I always feel bad because I'm never successful with the back of my hair, just never. Right? Some of you ladies are nodding, you know what I'm talking about.
I have the same problem, but I get like 2,500 people looking at the back of my hair. Now, just one final thing to say. I mean, that's very lovely what you say about the orchestra, but I do want to say that another thing that we have, and I look around this room and I see many, many faces, we have so many passionate lovers of music who are generous with their hearts and generous in many other ways as well. And it's the connection. In the end, it is that circle. It takes all these different kinds of people and in their various roles to make a vibrant cultural life in any city, and particularly an orchestra that can remain stable. And you know this, with opera companies, it's very much the same way. And I look around and I just want to thank all of you who are here tonight for making that difference. So give yourselves a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank all of you very, very much for being here. And please give a great thank you to Renée. Thank you so much.
Well done.